The china cup shattered across the Italian marble floor, splashing hot tea like blood across white stone. No, don't drink it. Amara's scream tore through the morning silence of the Okonkwo mansion, her hands trembling as she stared at the billionaire's shocked face. Adebayo Okonkwo, the man whose name made Lagos tremble, whose signature moved millions, stood frozen, the cup knocked from his lips by this wild-eyed housemaid who had appeared at his door only 3 days ago. "Have you lost your mind?" he thundered, tea dripping from his silk agbada. Samuel, get this mad woman out of my... Look. Amara's voice cracked with desperation. She pointed at the broken cup, at the dark liquid spreading across the floor. Look at what's floating in it. Please, sir, just look. Something in her voice, raw terror mixed with urgency, made him pause. Adebayo lowered his gaze to the spilled tea, and his heart stopped. There, among the shattered porcelain and spreading liquid, floated strands of something that shouldn't exist. Dark, thread-like filaments that seemed to ride in the tea, catching the morning light with an oily, iridescent sheen. And there was something else, a small cloth pouch, no bigger than a thumb, torn open by the impact, its contents seeping into the puddle. What is that?" His voice came out as a whisper. Amara was already on her knees, using a napkin to carefully separate the pouch from the liquid, her hand shaking so violently she could barely grasp it. "It's Osun, so," she breathed, tears streaming down her face. "Memory poison. From the deepest parts of the Congo. My mother, she died from this. I watched it take her memories, piece by piece, until she forgot her own name, forgot me, forgot everything, and then..." She couldn't finish. Her body racked with sobs. Adebayo felt the room spin. 20 years. 20 years of drinking tea prepared by Samuel, his most trusted butler, the man who had been with him since before the money, before the empire, before... "Sir..." Samuel's voice came from the doorway, smooth as aged whiskey. "I heard a commotion. Is everything..." He stopped mid-sentence, his eyes landing on the spilled tea, on Amara kneeling beside it, on the exposed pouch. For one crystalline moment, time seemed to stop. Then Samuel's face transformed. The mask of servitude fell away, replaced by something cold and calculating. His hand moved to his pocket. "You..." Adebayo's roar shook the chandelier. 20 years. 20 years, Samuel. How long have you been poisoning me?" "Not poison, sir," Samuel said quietly, and there was almost sadness in his voice. "Never poison. Just forgetfulness. Your brother said you needed to forget. Forget Chidinma. Forget the fire. Forget what you saw that night in Enugu. Forget the child." "My brother?" The words came out strangled. "Emeka is behind this?" Amara's head snapped up at the mention of the fire, her eyes wide with something Adebayo couldn't name. Recognition? Horror? Hope? "Who are you?" he demanded, turning to her. "How did you know? How did you know what was in my tea?" The young woman stood slowly, trembling like a leaf in harmattan wind. When she spoke, her voice was barely audible, but each word fell like a hammer blow. "Because I've seen that pouch before, sir. 15 years ago. The night my mother died. The night our compound in Enugu burned. The night they told you we all perished in the flames." She pulled down the collar of her uniform, revealing a burn scar that traced from her neck to her shoulder, a scar in the unmistakable shape of the Okonkwo family crest that had been branded into the compound gate. "My name is not Amara, sir." Tears streamed freely down her face now. "My name is Adiz. Adiz Okonkwo, and you're my father." The world tilted. Adebayo staggered backward, his mouth opening and closing soundlessly. The room seemed to darken at the edges. Somewhere in the distance, he heard Samuel moving, heard footsteps running, heard shouting. But all he could see was this young woman, this stranger, with his dead wife's eyes, his mother's nose, his own stubborn chin. "That's impossible," he whispered. "You died. You all died. I saw the fire. I identified the bodies. The bodies that were burned beyond recognition. The closed coffins. Emeka handling all the arrangements because Adebayo was too grief-stricken, Emeka insisting on immediate burial, according to tradition. Emeka, who had stood beside him at the funeral, hand on his shoulder, whispering, "Let them go, brother. Let the past die." "Oh, God," Adebayo breathed. "Oh, God, what has he done?" Adiz, his daughter, his child, is Adiz who loved mangoes and fireflies and her mother's lullabies, collapsed into his arms, and the sound that tore from both their throats was older than grief, deeper than pain. It was the sound of 15 stolen years. Samuel was already gone, fled into the Lagos morning. But this story was just beginning. Hello, guys. Welcome to my African Tales. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and share with your friends. And most important thing, turn your notification bell so you can get informed when I drop another amazing story. Drop your thoughts and reactions in the comments. What would you do if your spouse tried to kill you and you survive? Will you take a revenge or disappear forever? 3 days earlier, Adebayo Okonkwo stood on his Ikoyi mansion balcony, watching the sun rise over Lagos. At 53, he controlled an empire built on real estate and oil. His name opened doors across Nigeria. But wealth was a lonely country. 15 years ago, he'd lost his wife Chidinma and daughter Adiz in a compound fire in Enugu. His brother Emeka had handled everything: the bodies, the burial, the consolations. Adebayo had sleepwalked through it all, then thrown himself into work. But no amount of money could fill the hole where his family used to be. Some nights, he'd wake up screaming, chasing dreams he couldn't remember. Dreams of fire and crying and someone calling his name. His therapist said it was trauma. His brother said it was time to move on. But Adebayo couldn't shake the feeling that he was forgetting something vital. "Your tea, sir." Samuel appeared with a silver tray, as he had every morning for 20 years. The butler was an institution. He'd served Adebayo's father before him, been there for every milestone, every tragedy. "Thank you, Samuel," Adebayo murmured, reaching for the cup as he always did. This was routine. This was safety. He raised the cup to his lips. The new housemaid burst on the balcony like a storm, her eyes wild. She started 3 days ago, Amara, young and quiet. He'd barely noticed her. "Sir, please." "The tea." "Don't." "What on earth?" "Don't drink it." She lunged forward and knocked the cup from his hand. It shattered against a marble in an explosion of porcelain and liquid. Time slowed. Adebayo saw Samuel's face go pale, saw something dark floating in the tea, saw the maid drop to her knees, shaking. "Have you lost your mind?" "Samuel." "Look." She was crying, pointing at the broken cup. "Please, sir," before it dissolves. Something in her desperation cut through his rage. Adebayo looked down at the spilled tea, and his breath caught. Thread-like strands moved with life of their own, catching light with an oily iridescence. A small cloth pouch lay torn open, its contents seeping into the puddle. "What is that?" Amara carefully fished out the pouch with a napkin, her hands trembling violently. "It's OSU and so. Memory poison. From the Congo forests. My mother died from this. First she forgot small things, then bigger things. Finally, she forgot me. Forgot her own daughter's face. When there was nothing left to forget, her body just stopped." She bent over the spilled tea, racked with profound grief. 20 years of morning tea. 20 years of feeling like he was forgetting something. 20 years of memories that slipped away like smoke. "Sir." Samuel's voice came from behind, smooth and calm. "I heard shouting." He stopped, his eyes fixed on the torn pouch in Amara's hands with complete coldness and recognition. "You knew," Adebayo breathed. "You knew what was in that tea." The mask held, then cracked. "Not poison, sir. That would have been crueler. But not as effective." "Effective? 20 years, Samuel. You were at my wedding. You held my daughter." A memory struggled up from unknown depths. Fire, smoke, screaming, running through flames, calling names. But there was something else. Something before the fire. Something you should remember, but couldn't. "Your brother said you needed to forget," Samuel continued, reciting like liturgy. "Forget Chidinma. Forget the compound. Forget what you saw that night. Forget the argument. Forget the child. until there was nothing left but fire, grief, and emptiness that money could fill. My brother? Emeka is behind this. Mr. Emeka has always had your best interests at heart. Everything he's done protected the family name. Protected you from complications. What complications? What did my brother make you steal from my mind? Samuel's gaze shifted to Amara, who stood with the pouch clutched like evidence. Who are you? How did you know? I've been lying for 3 days, she said steadily, watching you, waiting for this morning, because I knew what you were doing. I've seen that pouch before. She turned at Adebayo, and in her eyes was a resemblance he'd been too blind to see, too poisoned to recognize. 15 years ago, there was a fire in your compound. You were told your wife Chidinma and daughter Adiz died, burned beyond recognition. You were told it was an accident. It was, he said hollowly, faulty wiring. Emeka said, your brother lied. The fire was set deliberately, and not everyone died. She pulled down her collar. The burn scar traced across her neck and shoulder in the unmistakable outline of the Okonkwo family crest, the one that had been branded into the compound gate. My name is not Amara, sir. Her voice broke. My name is Adiz Okonkwo, and you're my father. Samuel ran. The sound of his footsteps echoed to the marble corridors as Adebayo held his daughter, alive, breathing, real, and felt 15 years of manufactured grief crack open like an egg. We have to stop him. Adiz pulled away, wiping her tears. He'll warn your brother. They'll destroy the evidence, disappear. We'll never prove what they've done. But Adebayo couldn't move. His legs had turned to water. His mind reeled with impossible truths, colliding with buried memories struggling to surface. How? The words scraped his throat raw. How are you alive? I identified bodies. I buried. You buried strangers, Adiz said bitterly. 2 women from a village Emeka paid off. He told them their family would be cared for forever. Then he burned them alive in our compound to make sure no one could tell the difference. Adebayo's stomach lurched. He stumbled to the balcony railing, gripping it until his knuckles went white. Below, Samuel's Mercedes tore out the compound gate, tires screaming. His phone would already be dialing Emeka. The conspiracy would be warned. Why? The question came out broken. Why would Emeka do this? He's my brother. We built this empire together after Papa died. Why would he take you from me? Adiz's laugh was sharp as broken glass. You really don't remember, do you? The poison worked better than they thought. She moved to stand beside him, staring out at Lagos spreading below like a promise. That night in Enugu, before the fire, you and Emeka had a fight. A bad one. Adebayo's head throbbed. Fragments swirled in the darkness behind his eyes, trying to coalesce into meaning. Shouting. His father's office. Papers spread across the mahogany desk. Emeka's face twisted with rage. Papa's will. Adiz prompted softly, watching his face. You discovered Emeka had been forging documents. He'd been embezzling from the family company for years, funneling money into offshore accounts. You found the evidence. You were going to expose him, turn him in, cut him out of the inheritance entirely. The memory crashed through him like a wave, sudden and devastating. His father's office in the old Enugu compound, the night before the fire, document in his hands, bank statements, forged signatures, a web of theft spanning years. And Emeka caught cornered, desperate. You'll destroy this family. Emeka had shouted. Everything Papa built. You'll tear it down for what? Your precious principles? Your moral superiority? You stole from our father while he was dying. Adebayo had roared back. You're a thief and a liar, and tomorrow morning I'm calling police. If you do this, Emeka had said, voice dropping to something cold and final, you'll regret it. I swear on our father's grave, brother, you will regret it. Adebayo's knees buckled. He grabbed the railing harder, gasping. He threatened me, and the next night, the fire, Adiz finished. Mama woke me up. There was smoke everywhere. She grabbed my hand, tried to get us out, but the doors were locked from the outside. She pushed me toward the window, Told me to run and keep running. That's when I saw him. Who? Uncle Emeka. The title dripped with venom. Standing in the compound, watching it burn. Samuel was with him. They were just standing there, waiting, making sure. Adebayo's world collapsed inward. His brother, his blood, the man who'd held him at their father's funeral, who'd stood beside him at Chidinma's and Adi's funeral, who'd helped him build an empire on the ashes of tragedy, had created that tragedy, had murdered his family, had stolen his memories so he'd never know. Your mother, he whispered. Chidinma, did she? Adi's face crumpled. I don't know. I got out through the window, but she went back for you. She thought you were still inside, sleeping in the guest house. By the time I circled around, the whole compound was engulfed. I saw them bring out 2 bodies. Heard Emeka on the phone with you, crying, saying there'd been a terrible accident. She pulled up her sleeve, showing more burn scars. A old woman from the village found me hiding in the bush. She took me in, healed me. When I was strong enough to ask questions, she told me the truth. Emeka had paid her son to set the fire. The son died in a police shootout 3 months later. Very convenient. Why didn't you come to me? Adebayo's voice broke. Why wait 15 years? I tried. Adi's eyes blazed. When I was 12, I made it to Lagos. I stood outside your office building for hours, working up courage. Finally went inside, told the receptionist I needed to see you. Samuel was there. He recognized me immediately. I have Mama's eyes. He took me to a back room, gave me tea while we waited for you. Adebayo felt sick. The poison. I woke up 3 days later in that village woman's house. She'd found me wandering the streets, confused, not knowing my own name. It took 6 months for my memories to come back fully. By then I understood. They'd always be watching. I couldn't get to you as a child. So I grew up. I learned. I waited. And I planned. She pulled a phone from her pocket. Not the cheap one she carried as a maid, but a smartphone that looked expensive. 3 days ago, I applied to the employment agency your brother uses. I had false references, a false background. I knew Samuel would be doing the hiring, and I was counting on him not recognizing me. I'm not a child anymore. I dyed my hair, wore colored contacts, changed everything I could. The tea this morning. I've been watching his routine. He prepares your tea in the kitchen every morning at exactly 6:45. This morning, I spilled flour near the counter. When he bent to clean it, just for 10 seconds, I used a tiny mirror to look under the sink. That's where he kept the pouches. I'd suspected, but I needed to be sure before I made a move. Adebayo stared at his daughter, this stranger who was his blood, and felt pride mixed with horror. She'd survived. She'd planned. She'd come back for him. But she'd also lived 15 years alone, hunted, traumatized, forced to grow up in the shadow of an uncle's murderous ambition. We need evidence, he said, his business mind finally engaging. Samuel's gone to warn Emeka. By now, they're destroying everything. The pouches, the records, anything that connects them to the fire or the poisoning. Not everything. Adi's smile was sharp. I have the pouch from this morning, and I took photograph of the others under the sink yesterday. Plus, I have something better. She pulled up a recording app on her phone. Press play. Samuel's voice filled the air. Your brother said you needed to forget. Forget Chidinma. Forget what you saw that night in Enugu. Forget the argument. Forget the child. I've been recording everything since I arrived, Adi said. Every conversation, every movement. I knew if they tried to poison you again, I'd need proof it was deliberate. Adebayo pulled her into his arms, holding tight. She was so small, so young, yet she carried the weight of this truth alone for 15 years. I'm sorry, he whispered into her hair. I'm so sorry I forgot you, that I let him make me forget. It wasn't your fault, but her voice trembled. It was my responsibility, to protect you, to remember you, to never let anyone take you from me. He pulled back, cupped her face in his hands. But I'm remembering now, and your uncle, my brother, is going to answer for every single thing he's done. His phone rang. Emeka's name flashed on the screen. Adi's eyes met his, hard with determination. Answer it. Let him think you still don't remember. Let him think Samuel failed to warn him in time. Give us the advantage. Adebayo answered, keeping his voice shaky, confused. Emeka, something terrible has happened. Samuel, my butler, he ran away. And this housemaid, she's saying crazy things about poison and... Slow down. Emeka's voice was smooth, concerned, perfect. I'm sure there's an explanation. Where are you now? The mansion. I don't understand what's happening. Stay there. Don't talk to anyone. I'm coming over right now. A pause. And brother? That housemaid. The one saying crazy things. You need to fire her immediately. She's clearly disturbed. Possibly dangerous. The line went dead. He's coming, Adebayo said. Good. Adiz moved toward the door. We'll be ready. Emeka Okonkwo arrived in a convoy. 3 Mercedes SUVs swept to the mansion gates 40 minutes after his phone call, carrying not just Adebayo's brother, but 6 security personnel who fanned out across the compound with military precision. Adiz watched from the second-floor window, her heart pounding. He's not taking chances, she murmured. Beside her, Adebayo stood rigid, watching his brother emerge from the center vehicle. Even from a distance, Emeka cut an impressive figure. Tall, silver-haired, dressed in an immaculate agbada that probably cost more than most Nigerians earned a year. He looked up at the mansion, and for just a moment his mask slipped. Adiz saw a cold calculation in his eyes. Remember the plan, she whispered. You're confused, disoriented. I'm just a crazy maid who spilled tea. Nothing more. Adebayo nodded, but his jaw was clenched so tight she could see the muscle jumping. 15 years of brotherly love curdled into rage bubbled just beneath his skin. They descended the stairs together, Adiz staying slightly behind, playing her role. When they entered the parlor, Emeka was already there, standing by the window with the ease of someone who'd been in this house 1,000 times, which he had. He'd helped Adebayo choose the furniture, the art, the very foundation of this lonely mansion built on manufactured grief. Brother. Emeka's voice was warm, concerned. He moved forward with arms outstretched. Are you all right? You sounded frightened on the phone. Adebayo let himself stumble over the words. Something strange happened this morning. Samuel ran away. And this girl, His eyes landed on Adiz, and she felt the weight of his scrutiny. Emeka studied her face with the intensity of a man trying to place a memory. She counted on 15 years and physical changes being enough. She counted on him never expecting her to be alive. But she saw the moment doubt crept in. His eyes narrowed slightly, lingered on her cheekbones, her chin, the particular way she stood with weight on her left foot, a habit she'd inherited from her mother. You, he said slowly. What's your name? Amara, sir. She kept her voice meek, scared. I work here. I just started 3 days ago. Where are you from? Enugu, sir. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Emeka's smile never wavered, but his eyes went flat and dead. Enugu. How coincidental. That's where my brother's late wife was from. Yes, sir. I know. That's why when the agency said there was a position here, I applied. I thought maybe having someone from Enugu might make Mr. Okonkwo comfortable. How thoughtful. Emeka turned to Adebayo. Brother, why don't we speak privately? Your maid can wait outside. No. The word came out harder than Adebayo intended. He softened it. I mean, she's part of this. She saw what happened with Samuel. She should stay. Emeka's expression flickered, just for a second, but Adiz caught it. Annoyance. Calculation. He was a man used to controlling situations, and this one was slipping through his fingers. Very well. He settled into a leather armchair like a king taking his throne. Tell me everything. Adebayo recounted the morning, the tea, the scream, the broken cup. He kept his voice confused, his story rambling. Emeka listened with perfect concern, nodding in all the right places. And you say Samuel just ran away? Emeka asked. That's very unlike him. He's been with your family for decades. I know. That's what makes it so strange. Unless Adebayo pretended to struggle with the thought. Unless he was involved somehow with whatever was in the tea. What was in the tea, brother? I don't know. Some kind of powder. Something dark. And this girl, she called it poison, said it affects memory. Emeka laughed, a warm, brotherly sound that made Adee's skin crawl. Memory poison? Brother, with all respect, that sounds like superstition. Maybe Samuel was playing a prank. Or maybe, he glanced at Adee's, someone else put something in your tea and is now trying to deflect blame. I didn't. Adee started. Of course you didn't. Emeka's smile was a blade wrapped in silk. I'm sure this is all a misunderstanding. Still, brother, I think you should let this girl go. And perhaps we should file a police report about Samuel. Theft, maybe. Breaking contract. We need to control the narrative before rumors start. Rumors? Adebayo's voice sharpened. What kind of rumors? You know how people talk. A billionaire's butler runs away. There are whispers. Scandal. We need to get ahead of it. Emeka stood, moving toward them with the confidence of a man who'd orchestrated this conversation 1,000 times in his head. I'll take care of everything, as always. You focus on resting. You've had a shock. He placed a hand on Adebayo's shoulder, brotherly protective. And Adee's watched her father's entire body stiffen with barely controlled rage. There's something else, Adebayo said quietly. Something this girl told me. About a fire. 15 years ago. The hand on his shoulder tightened just slightly. What about it? She said the fire wasn't an accident. Silence felt like a guillotine. Emeka's mask held, but Adee's could see the calculations racing behind his eyes. How much did they know? How much was speculation? What was a smart play? That is a serious accusation, Emeka said slowly, turning to Adee's. His voice dropped all pretense of warmth. Who have you been talking to, girl? No one, sir. I heard stories. In Enugu, about the Okonkwo compound fire. People say many things. Most of it nonsense. Emeka released Adebayo's shoulder and moved toward Adee's with predatory grace. What else did these people say? She backed up a step, playing frightened. That 2 bodies were buried, but no one ever identified them properly. That the fire started in multiple places at once. That someone saw a man watching from outside while it burned. Gossip, rural superstition. But Emeka's hand had moved to his pocket. Adee's blood ran cold. Was he armed? Would he really kill them both here, now, with 6 security personnel outside? It probably is, Adebayo interjected, stepping between them. His voice was still confused, but there was an edge now. But it's strange, isn't it? That Samuel would run away on the same morning someone mentions a fire? Like he was afraid of something. Coincidence. Maybe. Adebayo moved to the bar cart, poured himself a drink with shaking hands. Or maybe there's something I'm not remembering. Something I should know but don't. That's what the memory poison does, right? Makes you forget. Emeka went very still. Brother, you're not making sense. Aren't I? Adebayo turned, and some of the pretense had fallen away. Because I've been having these dreams lately. Nightmares. Of fire and screaming. Of you standing outside the compound while it burned. Of a little girl's face. Stop. The word cracked like a whip. Emeka's mask had finally shattered. You need to stop this right now. Why? What am I remembering that frightens you so much? You're not remembering anything. Emeka's voice rose. You're being manipulated by this girl who showed up 3 days ago with her village gossip and her convenient stories. Then explain Samuel. Explain the poison. There was no poison. Then what was in the tea? The silence stretched between them, taut as a wire. Outside, the security personnel shifted. One of them moved closer to the house, hand on his weapon. Emeka saw Adebayo notice and forced himself to calm. When he spoke again, his voice was reasonable, concerned, brotherly. Adebayo, brother, you've been through trauma. 15 years ago, you lost everything. That kind of grief, it plays tricks on the mind. Therapy helps, but sometimes memories get confused. Dreams feel real. And when someone comes along feeding you conspiracy theories, I have proof. Adi's voice cut through the room. Both men turned to her. I have proof, she repeated, pulling out her phone. Recordings of Samuel admitting to the poisoning. Photographs of the pouches under the kitchen sink. And I have this. She pulled down her collar, revealing the burn scar. The Okonkwo family crest branded into her skin by fire and fate. Emeka stared at the scar, and she watched the color drain from his face. For the first time since he'd arrived, he looked truly afraid. That's impossible, he whispered. You're dead. I buried you. I watched you. He stopped, realized what he'd said. Adi smiled, cold and terrible. Hello, Uncle Emeka. Did you miss me? Emeka Okonkwo did not run. That was the difference between him and Samuel. When cornered, when exposed, Emeka stood his ground and calculated his next move. Adi's. Her name came out like broken glass. How? Does it matter? She moved closer, phone still in hand. You tried to kill me. You murdered my mother. You've been poisoning my father for 15 years. The how is less important than the why. Adebayo stood frozen between them, rage and shock warring across his face. Tell me, he said, his voice dangerous and quiet. Tell me why, Emeka. Why would you murder Chidinma? Why would you try to kill your own niece? Why would you steal my memories? Emeka laughed, a hollow, desperate sound. You really want to know? After 15 years of blessed ignorance, you want the truth? Yes, because Papa chose you. The words exploded from Emeka like poison lanced from a wound. Everything, the company, the inheritance, the legacy, all of it went to you, his perfect firstborn son, while I got scraps, assistant positions, allowances, like I was an employee instead of blood. Papa left you 30% of the company. 30%. Emeka's voice cracked. 30% to the son who ran the day-to-day operations while you played at being the visionary. 30% to the one who actually built the connections, greased the right palms, made the hard decisions you were too moral to make. And then you found my accounts. You found how I'd been taking what should have been mine all along, and you threatened to destroy me. You were stealing. I was taking my due. Emeka's face twisted with rage. And when you said you'd turn me in, that you'd cut me out completely, I realized you'd never see me as anything but secondary. Papa's shadow son. You're inferior. So I decided if I couldn't have the inheritance, I'd take it another way. Adiz felt sick. By killing us. By removing the obstacles. Emeka's eyes went cold again. If you went to prison, Adebayo, the company would collapse. The scandal would destroy everything Papa built. But if you were simplified, made more pliable, less certain, more dependent on your only remaining family, then I could guide you, shape your decisions, slowly acquire your shares through legitimate means while you were too grief-stricken and memory-addled to notice. The memory poison, Adebayo whispered. That's why Samuel kept dosing me. To keep me compliant. To keep you functional, Emeka corrected. A completely broken man would have been useless. But a man who couldn't quite remember why he felt uneasy around his brother? A man who trusted his brother's advice implicitly because he had no other anchor? That was perfect. And it worked, Adi said bitterly. For 15 years it worked. It did. Emeka pulled out his phone, typed something quickly. Until you showed up. That was careless of me. I admit, I should have made absolutely certain you died in that fire. But you were so small, and the flames moved so fast, and when I saw them bring out 2 bodies, I assumed. You assumed you'd murdered us all successfully. Adi's voice shook. And Mama, did you check for her body too? Or did you just torch the compound and hope for the best? Something flickered across Emeka's face. Regret? No. Annoyance at a job poorly done. Your mother was unfortunate. She wasn't supposed to be there that night. I'd arranged for the fire to happen when Adebayo was in the guest house alone. Just him and you. Chidinma should have been in Lagos. But she'd come back early from her trip. Wrong place, wrong time. Adebayo made a sound like a wounded animal. He lunged at his brother, hands reaching for his throat. But Emeka stepped back smoothly. The door burst open and 2 security personnel rushed in, weapons drawn. "Ah," Emeka said, his composure returning. "Excellent timing." Adiz felt her stomach drop. "What did you just do?" "Sent a text to my head of security. Told him there was a dangerous intruder in the house threatening Mr. Okonkwo. Told him to bring everyone inside and await further instructions." 6 armed men now filled the parlor, forming a semicircle around Adebayo and Adiz. None of them pointed weapons yet, but the threat was clear. "You're insane," Adebayo breathed. "You can't kill us here. Too many witnesses. Too much evidence." "Can I?" Emeka smiled. 6 security personnel will testify that a deranged housemaid, who, investigation will show, used false credentials to gain employment, tried to poison you this morning. When confronted, she pulled a weapon. Tragic that you were caught in the crossfire trying to protect me. I'll mourn you beautifully, brother, and this time I'll make absolutely certain there are no survivors. He nodded to his men. "Take them upstairs. Make it look like a struggle. And be thorough." The security personnel moved forward. Adiz's mind raced. She prepared for many scenarios, but not this. Not being outmaneuvered so completely. Her recordings wouldn't matter if they were dead. The evidence wouldn't matter if Emeka controlled the narrative. "Wait," she shouted. "You think I came here alone? You think I didn't prepare for this?" Emeka paused. "Bluffing won't help you." "I'm not bluffing. Every recording I have is backed up to the cloud. Every photograph. Every piece of evidence. If I don't check in with my contact in the next," she glanced at her phone, 17 minutes, "everything goes to the media, to the police, to every news outlet in Lagos." It was a lie. She'd been so focused on getting to her father, on stopping the poisoning, she hadn't thought beyond this moment. But Emeka didn't know that. What contact? A lawyer, an investigative journalist, someone who's been helping me build this case for 3 years. The lie rolled off her tongue smoothly. "You think I survived your murder attempt just to walk back into danger unprepared?" Emeka's eyes narrowed. "You're lying." "Am I? Can you afford to find out?" She held up her phone. 16 minutes now. "Kill us, and you'll be arrested before our bodies are cold. Let us go, and maybe we can negotiate." "Negotiate?" Adebayo turned to her, confused. "Adiz, no." "Shut up, Daddy." The word slipped out, "Daddy," and she saw her father's face crumble. "Uncle Emeka is a businessman. He understands deals. Don't you, Uncle?" Emeka studied her face, looking for cracks in her armor. She stared back, praying he couldn't hear her heart hammering against her ribs. Finally, he laughed. "You're more like your father than you know. Chidinma was soft, emotional. But you inherited the Okonkwo steel." He waved the security team back. "Fine. Let's negotiate. What do you want?" "Everything. Full confession. Transfer of all stolen assets back to my father. And you turn yourself in to the police." "Absolutely not." "Then we die, and you go to prison anyway. Or I kill you, deal with whatever fallout comes, and use my considerable resources to bury the story. I've done it before." They stood at an impasse, and Adiz felt the situation spiraling beyond her control. She'd been so certain, so prepared, but Emeka had decades of practice at manipulation and murder. She was outmatched. Then Adebayo spoke, his voice calm and cold as Lagos midnight. "Emeka, brother, there's something you should know." He pulled out his own phone. "While you were monologuing about your brilliant plan, I was recording everything. And unlike my daughter, I'm not bluffing about having backup." He pressed a button. A voice came to phone speaker. "Mr. Okonkwo, we receive your emergency signal. SARS units are en route to your location. ETA 4 minutes." Emeka's face went white. "You're bluffing." "Am I?" Adebayo's smile was terrible. "I had a panic button installed on my phone 6 months ago. All my closest business associates have them. Lagos is dangerous for men like us. Kidnappings, robbery, corporate espionage. I activated at the moment you walked in with 6 armed men. The police have been listening to everything. From outside came the sound of sirens, growing closer. Emeka's security personnel looked at each other nervously. One of them lowered his weapon. "Sir, if the police are coming." "Stand your ground." Emeka snapped, but panic cracked his voice. "It's over, brother," Adebayo said quietly. "Finally, after 15 years, it's over." Emeka's face cycled through emotions: rage, fear, calculation. Then something shifted. His hand moved to his pocket with sudden speed. Pulling out a small revolver, he aimed it not at Adebayo or Adiz, but at his own temple. "You want justice?" he said, voice shaking. "You want answers? This is the only ending I'll accept. I won't rot in prison. I won't let them parade me through courts, through media circuses. The Okonkwo name ends with dignity." "Emeka, don't!" Adebayo moved forward. The sirens were right outside now. Car doors slammed. Shouts of "police." Everyone on the ground. Emeka's finger tightened on the trigger. Adiz closed her eyes, unable to watch. A gunshot cracked through the air, but when she opened her eyes, Emeka was on the ground, his weapon skittering across the floor. One of his own security personnel stood over him, breathing hard. "I didn't sign up for murder," the man said quietly. "And I'm not going down for you, sir." Police flooded the room. Emeka was hauled to his feet, screaming threats and promises. His mask finally shattered beyond repair. They led him out in handcuffs while he cursed his brother, his niece, his fate. And then it was quiet. Adiz stood in the wreckage of the parlor, shaking. Adebayo pulled her close, and this time she let herself break. 15 years of running, hiding, planning. It poured out of her in great heaving sobs while her father held her and whispered, "I've got you. I've got you now. I'm never letting go again." 3 months later, Adiz stood on the balcony of the Okonkwo mansion. Her home now, truly, watching the sun set over Lagos. The city sprawled below in all its chaotic glory, but up here there was peace. The trial had been swift. Between the recordings, Samuel's testimony, he'd turned state witness to avoid life imprisonment, and the physical evidence of the memory poison. Emeka's conviction was inevitable. He'd received 40 years for murder, attempted murder, and conspiracy. Samuel got 20, but the legal victory fell hollow. Justice didn't resurrect the dead or restore stolen time. "There you are." Adebayo emerged onto the balcony, carrying 2 cups of fresh orange juice. "I thought you might want something to drink." Adiz smiled. They'd been careful about tea. Probably would be for a long time. "How are you feeling?" he asked, standing beside her. "Strange," she admitted. "For 15 years, I had one goal: expose the truth, get justice, find you. Now that it's done, I don't know what comes next." "What do you want to come next?" She considered. "I want to learn about Mama. Real memories, not the fragments I have from when I was 5. I want you to tell me about her, how you met, what made her laugh, why she loved you." Adebayo's eyes glistened. "I like that. I spent 15 years trying to forget. Now I want to remember everything. And I want to understand the business." Adiz continued. "Papa left you the company, but now it's ours. I want to learn how it works, how to run it, how to make it something good, instead of what Emeka turned it into. You want to work with me? I want to work with you. Build something together. Make the Okonkwo name mean something other than tragedy and betrayal." Adebayo pulled her close. "Your mother would be so proud of you, of your strength, your courage, the way you fought your way back to me. Do you think she's watching? Wherever she is. I know she is." He pointed to the horizon where the sun met the ocean in a blaze of gold. "See that? Your mother always said that's where heaven touches earth. When I see sunsets like this, I feel her close." They stood in comfortable silence. Father and daughter reunited against all odds. "I hired a new butler," Adebayo said eventually. "Young man from Calabar. Very nervous. I think the story of what happened to Samuel has made the rounds." Adiz laughed. "Good. We could use someone afraid of poisoning us. Keeps everyone honest." "I also established a foundation," he continued, "in your mother's name. It provides resources for women and children escaping domestic violence and family betrayal. I thought maybe we could turn this tragedy into something that helps others." The Chidinma Okonkwo Foundation. Adi said softly. Mama would love that. There's one more thing. Adebayo pulled a small box from his pocket. This was your mother's. I gave it to her on our wedding day. I want you to have it. Inside was a delicate gold necklace with a pendant shaped like the sun. Adiz remembered it now. Remember her mother wearing it always, touching it when she was thinking, kissing it when she prayed. It's beautiful, she whispered. She wanted you to have it when you turned 18. I had it locked away after the fire. Couldn't bear to look at it. He fastened it around her neck. But now you're here, and she'd want you to wear it. Adiz touched the pendant, and something inside her settled, a piece clicking into place. She wasn't just a survivor anymore. She was a daughter, an heiress, a bridge between past and future. What are you thinking? Adebayo asked. That I spent 15 years defined by what was taken from me. She said slowly, but maybe it's time to be defined by what I found. I lost my mother. I lost my childhood. I lost 15 years with you. But I survived. I came back. And we have the rest of our lives to build something new. Something better, he agreed. Something honest, she added. They clinked their juice glasses together, a toast to second chances and hard-won truth. Below, Lagos pulsed with life, millions of stories unfolding in the gathering darkness. Somewhere in the city, Emeka sat in a cell, stewing in his bitterness. Samuel too. But up here, in this house that had been built on lies and was now being rebuilt on truth, father and daughter watched the sun disappear and felt something like hope. Tell me about the day I was born, Adiz said suddenly. I want to know everything. Adebayo smiled, the first genuine smile she'd seen since they'd reunited. Your mother was in labor for 14 hours. Stubborn, just like you. The doctors wanted to do surgery, but she refused. Said you'd come when you were ready, not before. And finally, at sunset, just like this, you arrived, crying loud enough to wake the ancestors. Mama always said I was dramatic. You were perfect. You are perfect. And having you back, his voice caught. It's like being given a piece of my soul I didn't know was missing. They talked long into the night, filling the silence with stories, with laughter, with tears, rebuilding a relationship that had been stolen but never truly broken. Blood remembered, even when memory was poisoned. Love survived, even when buried under years of lies. And somewhere in the space between earth and heaven where sunset lives, perhaps Chidinma Okonkwo smiled and whispered, Well done, my darling girl. You brought him home.